Ricardo Laventure here with COUGHINGGeniusmedia. Today we are here with another episode of Co-Creating Act in studio, episode number 9.
There we go.
And we are here with Gloria, aka Latin for Glory.
Yes.
And today we are here to learn more about her and her journey in the art world, and to find out a little bit more about her processes and everything she's about.
Yes.
So perfect. So my first question is going to be, who is Gloria?
Ooh, that's a good question to start with.
Or should I say, who is Latin for Gloria?
Well, the way that I'll approach that, I would say Gloria. Should I speak in first person or third person?
Whichever works.
Yeah, well, I am a multifaceted creative. I try not to distinct myself because I feel like my craft and my practice intersect so many different areas, which is mostly art, design, and transpersonal psychology. And the reason that I have focused on those things in my practice is, it's a reflection of who I am, my personal life. And I am the kind of person that I'm trying to excavate life and explore the deeper meaning behind people, the natural environment, and why things are the way they are. And so Latin for glory is a direct translation of my name, Gloria.
Mm-hmm.
Back in 2013, I was trying to look for an alias to kind of umbrella all of the different things that I was doing. At that time, I was in interior design school, creating my portfolio, and I was just having a hard time finding something. And who knows, the things that I came up with, I have to look at that sketchbook, but I went from what's my favorite color, and I'd be like, all right, the green monster will be my alias, and it just came to the point that I was like, all right, what does Gloria mean? I at that time, I didn't like my name. It's my mom's name. So I looked at it, and the definition, it's a Latin word for glory. And so I'm like, that's it, I'm Latin for glory, right?
Wow.
And glory is the mission. I'm a Latin woman, so that's what I stuck with at that time, and here we are, Latin for Glory Studio.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I like it. That's really good. I definitely find that in the art world, finding the name to represent yourself tend to be a little risky. You don't wanna choose something that you may not be proud of later on.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can always change, but I feel like the deeper you go into your career, the way harder it's going to be to ever change. So kind of just got to stick to something.
Yeah, because it's attached to your portfolio.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like you could look at when Latin for Glory started and see my work there, and it kind of marks a big difference between what I was doing before that stage in my life and where I am now. So I think choosing a name is, if you're not using your own name, because a lot of people do use their own name, and I think that's beautiful, but if you're wanting to do something a little bit different, it's hard to settle down on one thing.
Yeah. When you say what you were doing before is way different than what you were doing now,
yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes. I feel like as a person, I have always been who I am. I just wasn't expressing that before that point. And so it was, before that I was starting college, before the high school, middle school, elementary. So I was growing up and growing into who I am and finding my voice. And I think that when I started Latin for Glory and I started working with the bull as my symbol, I mean, that kind of just showcased me out to the exterior world in a really important way. I feel like I found my voice and my courage in changing my name. Or not changing it, but in creating Latin for Glory.
So have you always been an artist? What's the origin story? Or a little bit about it.
Yeah, I feel like I was born into this world as an artist in a way. I've just always tended to go to the creative fields, and I was telling you earlier, you ask my mom, and my mom will tell you, like, you've been an artist since you were little, because you would steal my lipstick and paint on the walls and floors. And I spent my free time either outside playing around in nature or making things, drawing, sketching, looking at magazines. And I definitely have, since I was really little, tried to find my outlet I studied classical piano for 8 years and don't do music anymore. I practiced ballet for 13 and a half years, and I always, between all those things, was always painting. And when I chose to go, what I was going to study and what I was going to be professionally, I chose to go into architecture school because I felt that, I could still be an artist and make big things come to life. And even when I was in architecture school, I would still be painting and I would still be drawing. So, like, it's something that has never, ever, ever escaped my life. And the moment that I accepted it, everything kind of fell into place.
So it had a hold on you for a really long time.
Yeah, it was poking like, Gloria, look at me. Like you are what you are. Start doing it.
Because you tried different. You said you tried different forms.
I tried everything.
Ballet, music, and so it's like that. But
it was the visual arts is what always kept going through the underlying theme of it.
Even with architecture.
Yeah, 100%.
So knowing that the visual aspect is what really captivates you.
Yes.
What would you say art is to you?
Man, art is life. It really is. It's, I think, in that same process of learning about myself and growing into my role, I've also observed the way that I just live about my life is art in a sense. Like, there's no separation because the things that I create and the things that I do all stem from my own personal experiences, like my hardships, my tribulations, my trials. So that's why I think art is life. And I do genuinely believe that every single person on this planet has art in their system in some way or another. It's magic of life is art.
Interesting word.
Yeah.
Magic. I've heard that word before.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's funny because I use that word to describe a lot of the things that I do and my process. Magic keeps coming through. And I think that connects to just like how amazing being alive is. So for me, there's no separation between the two.
That's awesome. I like that. So let me reword that. What is your definition of an artist?
Creator. Yes. I think that being an artist isn't just about painting. I think that you're an artist, for instance, with what you do because you're creating.
Yeah.
And there's so many different types of form of creation. In some ways, like you see even doctors in the medical field that create prosthetics and they try to innovate. I think that they are also artists in their fields, if that makes sense. So yeah, art is creation.
I like that. I think I definitely agree with that. I think letting the imagination take control and being able to express yourself in a certain way is my definition of an artist.
Yes. Yep.
And you were speaking of accepting that. You said acceptance earlier on.
Yes.
I think I struggle with that a little bit. What would you say gave you the courage to allow yourself to be an artist? Because earlier you mentioned that you were from the Caribbean,
Dominican Republic,
Caribbean background and
Latin household.
and I already know it's either doctor, or something with a very high earning.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of security behind it.
Yeah, a lot of security. So I was wondering what gave you the courage to take that step forward.
Man, I feel like I just got to such an unhappiness in what I was doing beforehand and just being an interior designer working for someone else. Like, I did it for such a long time and I realized that I was just, things weren't working out for me and I wasn't in a good place and I just kept dreaming and envisioning and I just got to the point that I couldn't hold myself back anymore. And so I saved up my money. I did as much as I think I tried to be really safe in my life in some ways. And I've had to learn to not be safe and just go after things. And I just quit my job. I had some money saved up, not a lot. It was scary. And it's crazy. Like the moment that I let go of my job. Like that second that I hung up that phone because I had a pre-conversation of it, I've never been happier. And that's when I knew it. I was like, okay, this is what it feels like. This is a green light.
Yeah.
This is what it feels like when God is allowing you to continue moving forward. So it took me a long time to get to that stage, to feel that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I know that, that's what I apply to everything I do. I just go for it.
That's good. That's good to hear.
That's the bull, right?
Yeah,
It
it
is pushing past your fears. And I think a lot of it is aligning myself with the very work that I'm doing. You know, I want people to feel a sense of passion and motivation when they look at my work, and empowerment, right? That's what the symbol has historically been connected to. And I just applied that to my life. It's not easy, but that's essentially what it is.
So, speaking of the symbol that, you know, is in most of your work,
yes,
the bull.
Yeah.
You said that it's a depiction of the empowerment
Yes.
that you had to have in your life to push through and move forward. So how would you explain like your style when it comes to the way you depict the bull? Because I see many different, I see sculptures, I see pottery, I see
There's gonna be a lot more.
So how would you explain your style? Like,
so I definitely don't fit into any prescribed style. I've come to accept that, because especially when I'm writing about myself, I'm always like, I get to that question and I don't know how to answer it. So now I just know that I don't have a specific style in a sense. I think that I'm a very mixture of cultures, and maybe subconsciously that's why there's a mix of so many things, but the bull is always the DNA of what I do. Period. It's always at the heart. It's always the energy that I try to transmit, and my practice is at its essence exploratory. Like I will forever be experimenting with different techniques and mediums. I think that is a part of who I am and what I do. It's just learning, constantly learning, and as I evolve as a person, so is my work. So I don't think I'll ever stick to one specific style. There's definitely a golden thread through everything that I do, and that's, I think, not even I think, that's the bull is connecting everything. It's that sense of empowerment, of maybe even that tug of war between light and darkness that runs through everything in life. And then as far as like what it looks like, that's always going to change.
I think there's also the matches in the orchids, and what are the significance?
There's a lot of stuff. So part of what I do, and going back to the bull as a DNA, is exploring the different facets it has, because it's a very strong symbol, but throughout history it has been connected to such a wide variety of different themes. And I go back and I research what ancient civilizations, one of my favorite renditions, for instance, is how the ancient Greeks used to use the bull in their life, in their mythology, and in their pottery. And they used that symbol as almost like a deity that connected humanity to the divine and connected humanity to the earth. And when they had the food sources from the bull, they'd praise it as like a thanks to the heavens. So there's different aspects about it that I try to relate in my work. And so I think it's just me having fun, like trying to look at objects that I use every day and seeing what objects to me connect the most to the bull. And so fire is a really important element to my work, and so that's what led me to the match. And for me, the match, especially when you strike it, right, that power is in essence what my work represents, right? It's that pushing forward, illuminating the darkness, you know, that spark creativity, that passion. So it is a motif that has just stuck to me, that I'm constantly seeing, and I try to transmit that through my work to other people so they can also feel that passion, you know, that fury to go forward. So
that's amazing. I think the message that you're trying to portray, and the significance behind the lighting of the match, it's almost like, I wouldn't say setting your like, I wouldn't say setting your soul ablaze, but it's like,
Oh, it
it's
is.
almost like, well, there you go.
One of my key phrases that I keep using is ignite your soul.
Wow, that's
Yeah, and you
interesting.
didn't know. That's crazy. You
Yeah.
didn't know that. Oh yeah, I write
Yeah.
it everywhere, like all the
Mm.
time. It's like on some of my TikTok videos I put at the end. Yeah. If you go on my website, I put a landing page and it has like the matches that I made.
Mm.
And the first thing you click is ignite. So you go on in, then it leads to my website. Yes.
You know, I'm thinking that I might have subconsciously remember that from
Maybe,
visiting your website.
or you're capturing
Or
what I'm
maybe I'm
doing.
capturing, you know, so because it's the idea of just the light itself, just starting that light. It's almost like, hey, look, um, I'm thinking of something. It's always like lighting the way
Yes,
in a sense,
100%.
leading someone to something better, something greater in a sense. I think uh, it's a bull,
Yeah.
but in my mind, for some reason, I'm thinking, you're leading the horse to the water.
Yeah.
Hopefully
The
they
tunnel.
drink it, etc. That however the phrase goes. So I think the significance behind your message, it definitely reaches the people that it needs to reach.
Yeah, that's what I hope it does.
I feel like it will, and I feel like that it does.
Yeah.
But is there any instance where someone received it in a different way or perceived it in a different way?
Oh, yes. It's interesting. The good and the bad part of art is how subjective it is. You can only perceive something from your own standpoint, which is, I think, is the best part of communications, and I could share what it is about. But for instance, in a lot of Latin communities, especially, I'll never forget my first solo art show in the Design District, which is Seven Fires, which is the painting behind me, was a very transformative series, and it was about starting at the darkest point of my life and leading viewers through these big paintings towards I guess when Latin for Glory was born, right? And I had a couple people, all Latin Americans, and I can say this because I am Latin American, just approach me and be like, "This is scary," or are you painting the devil? And I'm like, "No, the devil's a goat." This is not the same animal at all. There's nothing evil behind my work. So I do think that from a cultural aspect, there's been sometimes I've just had to clarify it. Luckily, after I clarify it, everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, you're right." But I think those are probably the only instances. But luckily, the majority of people do see it and they get it. And that makes me happy because the reason that I decided to stick to the bull and it just grew into my emblem was because of its universal, like how universal it is and how in so many different countries throughout times it's always been a positive image. There's not a lot of negativity throughout history books connected to it. So it's an interesting take from outside people for sure. But hopefully, as people get to know me, that'll go away. It's not at all about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask that question because
Yeah.
of course I'm from the Caribbean background. Also,
Yeah,
so
I know
how
it
sometimes
is.
it's a
Some of
little.
these cultures, you're like, I get it. Like, I understand, but it's not that.
Yeah, because it does have a very magical look to it.
Yeah,
in a
although I
sense.
feel like the horns might be really aggressive to some people that, again, it is their perception. If you see a horn, some people connected to Satan, for instance, it's just like, I don't paint horns. I paint the bull. I paint the animal and what it symbolizes, like that energy that brings you out the darkness, right? That leads you towards God, right? That puts you in your path and to do the best that you can in life. That's what everything ties back into.
I definitely understand that now.
Yeah.
Because most people would see that and misunderstand it.
Yeah.
But I think there are some people that will understand it. It's just they need to take the time. Most people it's a
just
quick
have to
look.
learn.
Yeah, it's a quick look and it gets misunderstanding. So I definitely see different styles of the bull.
Yes.
Like I was saying earlier, like different approaches to the bull. It'll be paint, it'll be pottery, it'll be black and white and etc. Um, what would you say triggers you when it comes to the variations? Like, do you see something and you feel like you need to maybe create a representation through the bull, or maybe through the orchid, or maybe through the match? Because I see some paintings where it'll be Christmassy kind of looking match, and there's Fourth of July kind of
Yeah,
looking
there's a whole
match.
lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of different representation. Even I believe a Julius Caesar looking bull also.
Yeah, there is.
So,
It's very, yes.
I was wondering, what's your inspirations? Like, what are your triggers to how to use the bull in different ways to express yourself?
I think, well, it's a combination of my personal life. So I definitely create from my own experience and whatever I'm going through at that time, and a combination of what I'm researching. So I'm constantly reading and learning. So there's oftentimes, like, I think one of the biggest themes that I look into is like ancient art history. And I'll be reading a prompt, maybe that's what Julius Caesar about, how the busts were used to display kings and emperors and all this crazy shit. So I was like, you know what, if I put a bull head, a beautiful one, right, more feminine version with the horns on there, it's almost like knocking off these guys from their pedestal and being like, you know what, this is a universal symbol of like humanity, and we belong on there, not you guys.
Exactly.
So that's one example, but that's, I guess that's a reflection of the evolution of my work, is because I've gone through so many things in my life that it's constantly changing. And I think when it came to pottery, I learned to work with ceramics during the pandemic. It's it's just something that I had been sketching for years. And a lot of these ideas are actually things that I've been sketching for such a long time that I look back and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to learn this finally. I guess it's that impulse that I've learned to do, not be afraid and just kind of just go for it. And I was, I didn't know that I would like ceramics so much. And for me, being able to build something 3D and take something that I paint, for instance, and make it an object that you could put flowers in or display in, it was a really nice transition. So now I definitely do keep it a point to do 3D and 2D art, to always like try to push my work outside of the flat canvas. But I am experimenting a lot with that. So now I don't just do ceramics, now I'm doing paper mache too. So I genuinely just feel like it's gonna constantly be evolving. And I really also want to get to public work. So I want to make that to a big level, right? To large scale, almost architectural, so that everybody can enjoy it and play around with it. So maybe not the horns, but like a giant orchid, for instance, something that more people can have access to at a park, for instance. So it'll definitely keep growing and keep changing, but it's just a reflection of what's going on in my life.
Speaking of that, like just creating something bigger. I don't know why, but the word installations came into my mind as you were speaking.
Yes.
I can definitely see you doing some installations.
Oh, I love to.
Of maybe like, I don't know, like an orchid on a bull horn that turns into some type of fiery paper mache thing.
Yeah, well, that's already like a thing.
Yeah,
For sure. It's a thing. Like, I'm putting it out there in the world so I can manifest it, but it is just taking what I paint, what I sketch, and bringing it to life. And right now I make things to scale that I can in the studio space to what allows me. But essentially, we were talking about it earlier, applying to different projects that are publicly funded that give you the access to work in a warehouse, for instance, and make something big. I feel like it's gonna happen soon. So one day everyone will be able to play around it.
I can definitely see you creating something really abstract, yet still resembling the bull in a way.
Yeah, it's just gotta hold the energy, that's all.
You're crazy if you created like a weird bull slide at a park.
No, that sounds dangerous for kids. Just slide off into the abyss.
Slide into the horn just
climb
up
up
in
and
the
jump.
air.
If I was a parent, I'd be like, you're not going on that.
Like, thank you.
Yeah. Don't get an idea, kids.
Don't do it. So Definitely, I think with your style, it's very unique. It stands out. It's as soon as I saw it, I was walking into the studio. You saw my
Yeah.
face. I was like, wow, like this is definitely interesting. It's I think it carries a different energy once people allow it to.
Yeah.
I feel like it can definitely be in a lot of people's different houses, uh, and be um, more powerful than their, some people take it away.
Yeah.
Allow it to be powerful in their home. So um, you speak a lot about your life and how these bowls represented and the different variations represent your life. You also chose a life that most people would consider hard.
It is hard.
The life.
It is.
Yeah, you definitely chose the life most people or we were speaking of earlier, the bravery that it takes to be an artist. Most people struggle in that life. How has your life been as an artist?
Oh man, so it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's crazy because even at its most challenging, and when I found myself not making any money, for instance, compared to making money as a professional designer, I just feel that since I'm aligned with my passion, that everything makes sense to me. And being able to do what I love, even if it is challenging, it's worth it. And doing something that's worth it to you, I feel like it's an invaluable success in its own. Even if you don't make money with your work, I mean, just putting it out there, because I have been able to connect with people on such a deep level. And like I just showed at Art Santa Fe last summer, and one of the last people before I closed up my booth, we were speaking about my work, and he started talking to me about how he just lost everything and he had given up, and he said that because of my work he's going to pick back up on his list, and we started crying together. And and those moments, and I didn't sell, and I left there, and it was the most amazing experience of my life, because it allowed me to connect to people at a level that I'm trying to reach, right? It's going back to what you picked up on. I feel like my work meets people at the darker moments, and it's kind of just like striking that first match and just letting them go on their own way, right? So and a lot of people, especially now that I'm finally learning how to communicate my work, because at the beginning I felt like everything was just really, it's heavy themes to work with, transformation, rebirth, and even like people that have gone through death of family members, like those are really heavy themes, and I've learned how to approach them and speak about it, that now I feel like people, when they talk to me and they look at my work, they get it, and we find ourselves in that little darkness and we strike our match and we go on our way. And it's kind of nice, because the more light that we bring into our lives, the more light we're bringing into the world. So if I can just strike a few little lights here and there, I feel like I'm just doing my work.
That's awesome.
I'm, fulfilling my purpose.
That's so interesting, because like I said, I those thoughts I was having were literally from me just seeing your work.
Yeah.
And it's like me saying, you bring people, to the water, and if they choose to drink, they drink, or lighting the way.
Yeah.
Like that was just me just expressing
how I feel. That's crazy. It's good.
And you share that story, and
yes.
that to me is intense.
Yeah, it is, but it's beautiful, and that for me makes what I do worth it, and the hard stuff worth
Very
it.
fulfilling in a way.
Yeah, all the no's and the rejection. You know what? Middle finger to that. I'm actually, helping people in some way or another.
Exactly. So it's like, even if you didn't sell, you reached someone.
Oh, for sure. I think that trip was so successful for every other reason.
Okay, that's very amazing. That's intense. That I picked up on that.
Yeah, I know,
So
and it's real.
So it's like it definitely shows that whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
it's really speaking out loud.
That's good.
It's loud.
Yeah, that makes me really happy to hear. And going back to like starting off as an artist, it was scary because, like I said, the first show I got those reactions, and it made me for the slightest second question whether, man, should I be painting this, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like you kind of have to drown out that doubt, because I just don't think that this imagery or even the message, because like you said, I don't only paint the bull, but everything I do connects to that somewhere or another. I genuinely feel like that's part of my life purpose. And if I were to not do that because some few people don't get it, that's sad, you know. And I think it's really easy to fall into that trap of doubt and, you know, yeah, I don't know, people aren't getting it. It's just like, no, now that I'm finally getting somewhere in my career, that maybe I'm just being seen by the right people finally, and not just Latin moms, you know. Now that I'm finally connecting to maybe people that are also going through challenges or also wanting to push their careers forward, it's like, all right, thank God I didn't give up. Because now we can join forces and make this world a much better place, each of us doing what we're supposed to do, you know.
And that kind of goes back to the I think I've heard this phrase pretty often. I don't know who said it, but it's like the people that need your art will find your art.
100%.
It'll happen. So it's like, just put it out there.
Oh yeah, I feel like my career is a huge testimony to that, and it's something that I have been reading throughout my life. It's just like, do what moves you, and the people will find you. Like, be the bullseye, and the arrow will be attracted to you. Like, don't do it the other way, because if you focus so much on like what people are getting from you at that moment, you're missing out on the big picture. That maybe it's the tiniest fraction of your life that you're just getting started, but like the grand scheme of things, you're gonna make a huge impact on people, you know, regardless of what your creative craft is, you know. It's really powerful when someone steps into their power, which is again what I'm trying to just like push people to do with my work, you know, like light that fire, go take that first step, and the rest is history.
Speaking of, you know, people that tend to be the one that's trying to light the fire in others and help uplift others and bring others to a higher self or a better sense of self, a healthier self. Sometimes those people tend to be givers, and sometimes it can be draining to be a giver.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is a question I tend to ask to a lot of artists, because to me it's very important. And I would like to ask you, how's your mental health?
Oh, I like that you're asking that, because I feel like more people need to talk about that. And I feel I've also so in combination with my art, I also go to therapy, right? So I feel like my mental health is great, but I'm surrounded by people that maybe their mental health isn't as great. So again, there have been times that I've had to learn to not give so much of myself. It's just like, I can only help you light the fire. I can't walk you through it though. Like, everybody has their own life journey to go through, and it's something I've had to learn, or life has been teaching me the hard way, for sure, when to kind of just give other people space and not give of you anymore. You know, it's just like, say what you need to say, do what you need to do, but you gotta let other people be. So I feel like I'm a huge empath. I connect a lot, and obviously it translates in my work a lot, but my mental health is great. I've definitely had to learn, for sure, to get some barrier between that, because I have been drained a lot, burnt many times with my own fire, if that makes sense. So it's part of life, and I've grown to embrace it, and I see it also, like, again, just kind of accept the darkness for what it is, and learn through it, and just, that's the only way that we can be the best part of us.
And that's the interesting thing about being a fire, you know, being the shining, you know, like spark, the bright spark in the middle of the night, to say, you know, because it attracts...
It attracts some bad people, too.
Yeah, it attracts the moss, you know?
Oh, yeah. I call them the vampires.
There you go, that too.
It's funny, because, like, it's something that I work through, and maybe it's since I work a lot with like symbolism in my life, I call these people vampires, that they're just there to drain you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are the only source of light in the darkness, oh, they see you,
Mm-hmm.
and they find you, and they try. So you just gotta be a badass and know how to spot the bad people and just cut them out. Don't even give them access to your space, to your life. Be like, oh man, I'm helping people. This is not for you to take.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely been, and there have been aspects like, I had once an incident, someone copying my logo. And I went through a really hard time. I took it really personal. It was hard to see someone just rip your work off, and that comes from such a personal place in my life. So yeah, that's when I first discovered vampires exist. For sure. Oh yeah.
So, when dealing with these vampires,
Love it. We're calling them vampires loud.
sometimes it's good to have a team behind you.
Yes.
You can't. Sometimes it's not fun handling the vampires alone.
Can't really handle them by yourself, man.
So, how would you say your support system? How's your support system? Like, how would you say your support system is when it comes to your family, when it comes to your friends? Like, the art world is very difficult. As
a lot of vampires.
A lot of vampires.
A lot of vampires.
So, what I'm basically asking is, how's your family when it comes to supporting you and dealing with these hardships? And
oh man, they're so supportive. And it's interesting because I've definitely had my points of tension with my parents growing up when I was an adolescent and just rebelling against all these rules that didn't make sense. But through every challenge, I have definitely learned that I can count on them no matter what. I think I have the two best parents in the whole world. I have really, really strong friends that have been along my side for such a long time that I've had to learn to open up to them when things happen, and the times that I have allowed myself to, put a little bit of weight on them, they've supported me through and through. So I definitely feel very blessed to have really amazing people around me. And on a professional aspect, I've had to learn also the bad way that you got to hire a lawyer sometimes.
Yes.
I think that was a learning lesson tied back to that first time I discovered vampires were real. Was learning that I am limited in my capacity, and sometimes you just have to lean on professionals that handle that kind of stuff. And I've been very fortunate that I did find a lawyer that is extremely supportive in the creative arts, and there are a lot of people out there that are there to help. So just gotta not be afraid to ask.
That's definitely good. I think a lot of artists don't know about the legal part that you made.
Yeah.
That's very important. I think a lot of artists don't know about it. I've seen a couple of people speak on being scammed.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time.
Like, you get a call and somebody's like, hey, I want to buy your art for, like, I don't know, this amount of money.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of people speak on that, and some people even get the good old NFT thing. They're trying to help you with your NFT. All they need is like the rights to this.
Yeah, right.
And it's pretty scary out there.
It is.
From what I've seen, from what I've heard also. So, how would you say your experience has been in the art industry, other than dealing with the vampires? Like, how is the supportiveness of the community when it comes to your experience?
I've definitely have had to find the support within the community. I can only speak to Miami because this is where I've worked, and there's definitely resources. I mean, there are definitely resources and people. One of the, I guess you would call them initiatives, Locust Projects, for instance, here in Miami, they offer free legal counseling. And those are people that I think are gems in the community because they are offering such a helpful service that, for instance, for me, being able to call a lawyer when I started was really daunting. And when I reached out to Locust Projects first and they talked me through it, it just became, like, they let me know this is a normal part of process. Like, if someone's scamming you, copying from you, or trying to just infringe upon your creativity, there are resources and there are people, and you can't be scared to access it. So I feel like communities like them, like Locust Projects, for instance, I keep saying their name, but they have been such a good reinforcement for me.
I've heard of the Locust Project,
Yeah.
but I've never been informed on what they do exactly. You know, I just thought they were like a funding branch or something. I didn't know.
Yeah, they are an artistic initiative, so they offer installation space, project space, grants. They offer a lot of resources, like they connect. Same with Fountainhead. Fountainhead also is such a resourceful. Oh my God, I love Catherine so much.
Yeah.
But there are, thankfully, in Miami, those communities that exist, and they're strong in helping local artists, and you just gotta ask, right? And if they don't know, they'll try to help you point in the right direction, which I think is really, really helpful. But in addition to them offering such amazing space for different artists to be able to showcase and perform, they have resources like that that you just could call. Be like, hey, this happens to me, I don't know what the hell to do. They'll schedule time to sit with you and, you know, be like, you got to call this guy, or, you know, maybe approach it this way. So
it's really amazing.
Yeah.
I've had an opportunity to meet Catherine.
Catherine's awesome.
But the conversation was short because I was in a different headspace.
Yeah.
I was kind of moving around. I didn't have the opportunity to actually have a conversation with her like that, but I've heard a lot about her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
she's definitely a pioneer in the art world here.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
Champion for emerging artists, young artists, and local artists. I mean, and she's been doing it from the beginning.
Yeah.
One of the first.
She's done a lot. Yeah. So you've been through a lot.
Yeah. 30, almost there. I turned 33 on Sunday.
Okay.
And I think I've lived through a lot.
Happy early birthday.
In such a short amount of time.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
How would you say you feel about your career so far? You've been up and down, apparently.
Oh, more down than up, believe it or not.
But you're still up.
Yeah, I am really excited. And even when it was impossible to see through the bleakness, I still felt a sense of excitement. I think that ties into, again, once you're in the right path, even the hard times don't feel that bad. Or maybe they do feel that bad, but you always have a sense of hope through it. And I've been nothing but hopeful my whole career, even when I had doubts. And now it's just all starting to, maybe for the first time ever, really starting to work out. And I don't want to jinx it, but I do genuinely feel excited for everything that's coming. And going back to something I said earlier, it's just like looking back at so many ideas that have just been like closed between sketchbook pages, and now I'm finally starting to make it and like let them have their space and their life. So it's interesting that once I start making these things, like the ceramics, I feel like that was just a long way coming, that the second I started doing ceramics, it's almost like a door started opening. And yeah, I'm just walking through the door.
That's good. That's good. I'm happy that you're still hold on to that excitement.
Yeah.
You know, that's very important.
You got to.
Yeah, that's very important. So speaking of your career so far, what is a recent accomplishment that you're really, really proud of?
Let me think. A recent, I mean, one of my bigger accomplishments was going to Santa Fe last year. But since then, I have mastered this style of oil painting that was just kind of stuck in my head because I really wanted to do the bull energy in abstract form. And it was something that I've always played around with it. Maybe I don't show it on my Instagram, but these paintings exist in storage. So I feel like I finally connected to a style of abstract oil painting that just excites me. And for me, it's an accomplishment. You know, it's something that I have spent so many years working on, developing, sketching, thinking, and to see it come to fruition, having people commission it, is like, whoa, okay, this is awesome. You know, not only am I actually making it, but people are connecting to it. And that for me is success, is when the outside world, the viewers, the audience, can find joy in what I'm doing.
For It's like you took the leap and you landed.
Yes, I finally landed. I've been like leaping and falling for a long time. It's like, all right, okay, solid ground. We made it.
That's awesome to hear. That's awesome. Okay, so speaking of leaps, say 5 years from now, where do you see yourself? And what do you need to do to get yourself there?
Okay. I definitely see myself with a team, because one of my biggest dreams is to be able to help people, like actually employ people and help them build their careers through my studio and my work. So having work big enough that I need a team and that, making big sculptures all over the world, being invited to Desert X and doing an art installation out there and being able to move my message across the world. That's where I'm going to be in 5 years. It's not just going to be Miami. I think Miami is going to be where my roots are, right? My hometown, maybe my main studio. But I'm definitely going to have a studio in New York. I'm also going to have a studio probably in Paris. And I just need to keep doing what I'm doing. And hoping, praying that the right people see me to be able to expand my vision to the right way and, gain those resources, get those grants, be accepted to those open calls and be able to bring my message to the public eye. I think that's like the recipe that I need to get there to the mixtape.
That's awesome to hear. That's really awesome to hear, because the vision itself is awesome. But sometimes the steps is what makes everything comes together.
Yeah.
So you already have the vision. I'm sure you already have the steps. You don't have to share it.
But I just gotta keep working.
Never let them know your next move.
I don't even know if I know my next move. So I guess maybe there actually isn't something to share as far as a specific next move. It's just more just continuing to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Just work. Just keep creating, keep experimenting, and the rest has to come into place. I can't have control over everything, so
I definitely agree.
Gotta let go of some of it.
Definitely agree. Well, speaking to you, I can definitely tell you that I believe you will achieve your dreams.
Thank you. I hope so.
You definitely will.
And yours too.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think just hearing your story itself is inspiring. Speaking to you itself is transformational because I'm over here picking up on energy.
Yeah, that's wild. It's cool. I think that's the coolest thing about what I do. And since I try to work and touch upon all layers of existence, like I feel like even people that don't believe in the spirit, it's like, yeah, you do, because if you understand what I'm doing, you do connect to it. And I love that. I work on a physical level. I think that there's a lot of mental aspect with what I work and understanding, but the most important, it's got to connect to the soul. So I'm glad that you're picking up on it.
I'm definitely.
It's hard. It's it hasn't been the most obvious thing for me to do, but I think I'm finally able to do it. So.
It's definitely, like I was saying, it's definitely transformational. Even this conversation with you, I've been able to learn a lot. Definitely the grants.
Yes.
Need to
keep applying.
Need to apply to the
like
grants.
20 years.
And keep working, of course. And of course, the key word that I hear often, honestly, is the magic of things.
Yeah.
Focus on the magic of things and try to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
You
have to believe.
You have to believe.
You have to have faith in the magic first.
Definitely. So with that said, we're going to end the interview.
Yes.
It's been an honor. It's been amazing to talk with you. It's been awesome having this conversation with you. Very nice, very easy flow.
Good. Happy to hear that.
It's been awesome. Thank you for letting me into your studio, of course. And sharing your work and
the Lab for Glory Laboratory. That's what I call it.
Definitely sharing your ideas with me and everything. And with that said, we're going to go. But before we go, can you please share your social media information with us, or in websites, or whatever you may have coming up also?
Yeah. So definitely, I'm mostly on Instagram. So Latin for Glory will be my handle for everything. As I have TikTok, which I don't use that much, but my website is www.latinforglory.com, and yeah, that's what I'm gonna be using for everything.
Awesome. And with that said, everybody, thank you for joining us today. This has been In the Studio, Co-Creating Act with Land for Glory,
Yes.
episode 9. And everybody have a great day.